Good afternoon. When Sri Prasad called me some time back to deliver a lecture on the human resemblances to Veena, I added a tag to it, a radiological perspective, me being a consultant radiologist and professor and head of the Department of Radiology in Vizag. But then I was clueless for probably a week or two as to how to go about it. Then suddenly it struck me that why can't I perform a CT scan on the Veena itself? Till date, to my knowledge, nobody has ever performed a CT scan on the Veena. We are not supposed to perform an MR, that much I know, MRI of the Veena, because the strings and the frets contain ferromagnetic substances and the instrument might get stuck to the gantry of the MR and I would lose my job invariably. So then the problem with CT scan was that wood per se is radiolucent. That means it allows the X-ray beam to pass through the structure. So I was not pretty sure as to what images are installed for me. But then we took it up and slowly as the days progressed, we did come up with reasonable quality images. Next slide, please. These are the two images that I could get from the CT scan of the Veena. The one on the left, this is a reconstructed image that we get whenever we do reconstruction of the lung. So I got an image which is resembling the lung. And the one on the right side, this is called a volume rendering image that we usually do for angiograms, CT angiograms, as well as to the bowel loops, bone, joints and all. Next slide. The CT scan journey started with these three images. This is, see, whenever we image any individual, we image them in three planes, as was being mentioned in the morning, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. We can cut half this way, and this way. You have three planes to cut. So this is the cut sections of the Veena. This is called an axial plane. This is as though you cut a potato. Now this is the sagittal plane, as though you cut it in the sideways. And this is the coronal view, as though you're looking at it face on. But you can see that the quality of images were pretty suboptimal. These were the source images that we got. From these source images, we have reconstructed the whole story. Next. So the third image is the so-called modern Veena that we are seeing in the market of late. The one without a resonator or a tumba, both. So kind of handicapped Veena, I shouldn't say that, but medically it looked like that. But anyway, this we got it by subtracting the part of the image. This is done on the computer, nothing great about it. We do it day in and day out. Next. This is the part of the yali that I imaged on the CT scan. You can see extreme levels of details with regards to the curvature and the supporting structure, the tumba. Next. Next slide. Yeah, this is what I was referring to as the coronal view, as though you see it on a photograph. Now, again, I had a lot of trouble imaging the sarini and the one next to it, because the mandra tigas were the Veena which I was using had copper and brass, so they were easily picked up on the CT. But the steel and stainless steel strings were not overtly visible. So we had to do again some more software techniques to ensure that we get all the details. No, I'm just telling you the journey that I had gone through. The actual study starts in the subsequent slides. Extremely difficult to start with, but then the images were extremely gratifying. Next. This is the imaging of the bridge, the two bridges that we have one for 4 strings, the other one for the 3 strings. Next. One more image to show all the 7 frets, 7 strings, 24 frets, and the 7 knobs. Next. Yeah, this is the most amazing and part of this study. That this is called a mid-sagittal plane. You cut it straight, as though you cut a brinjal halfway through. So when I'm not going into the spiritual aspect of it. It has been dealt at length in last couple of days. I'm just looking at it with my radiological eyes. Morning I was a performer. Now I'm an absolute professional radiologist. So if you were to look at the resonator box, it actually looks as though you're looking at the brain. This is the mid-sagittal plane of the brain. This is an MR image and this is a CT image. CT we primarily do for bones and MR for soft tissues. So the vertebral bodies that we have, some are fused and some are free. If you were to count the total number of vertebrae which are free, the 7 in the neck, 12 in the trunk, and 5 in the lower region. So the total adds up to 24. The number of frets in Veena are also 24. So scientifically speaking, the human body is absolutely a replica of the Veena or otherwise. Vice versa also. So the sacrum and coccyx are that part of the spine in the lower half which are fused. Probably that is represented as the yali. Yali is the fused portion of the spine and the 24 frets are the free vertebral unfused bodies. Then the tumba corresponds to the area that we sit upon. It's basically meant for support. Maybe there is a resemblance to that also. It doesn't either amplify or magnify or intensify the sound. So if you were to, this is what we do on daily basis, looking at these images, but these images were more or less corroborating with the available MR and CT images. Next. So the second slide which I showed, where I tried to show the 3 planes, the sagittal, axial and coronal planes, the top row of the images are that of the Veena, the middle row is that of the MR of the brain, the third row is the CT scan of the brain, same. Here I am showing the bones, here I am showing the matter, but you see, to start with, Veena has only air within. Air is something we cannot image on the by radiological means. We see it as a dark thing. So this is the hollow portion. This is the hollow portion in the resonator box or the kunda that we call. Next. So this is the whole spine imaging that we do whenever we try to look for fractures or dislocations in the spine. So I tried to show the left half are the Veena images. The third one is the so-called modern Veena. And the fourth one is the reconstructed images of the spine in toto. Next. So as I was referring to this particular aspect earlier, that the sacrum and coccyx of the human body are fused and they represent the yali of the Veena. So I tried to show yali in the CT images, and this is the corresponding MR image, corresponding CT image, and this is the reconstructed image. It is very easy to identify and acknowledge the fact on scientific terms, not spiritual terms. Next. Now, as we go from left to right on a Veena, the interfret distance gradually reduces. Same is the case in a human body. As you go from down above, the intervertebral disc space gradually reduces. It is done to have a higher octave on the Veena. It is done to maintain the curvature of the body in a human being, because your neck is not that much of a weight-bearing area, whereas the back is a weight-bearing area, so you need more space and more cushioning effect in terms of the disc. Disc is the structure between two adjacent vertebral bodies. So if you were to look at the Veena, if you consider this as the lumbar area and this is the neck area, you can see the interfret distance is gradually reducing as you go from below above, and that corresponds to the MR image of the neck as well. Next. Now this is the lower area. This is in the lumbar area. You see the space is much bigger. The height is much bigger. Same is the case with the interfret distance when we are looking at maybe Suddha Rishabham and Chaturasruta Rishabham level. Next. Now, I thought the strings should represent the nerves. So, I picked up an image of the nerves and I tried to incorporate that image with that of the image of the strings. These are the areas where we tie the string just before the bridge. So this is corresponding to the brachial plexus that we study in medical terms. That covers this part of the area, both hands and upper neck and part of the upper trunk. So these are the strings on the Veena, and these black ones are the nerves. This is a color-coded image. Nothing spectacular about it. We do it with the software that is available. Next. And this is one slide which I wanted to impress upon. Sri Prashant Iyengar was talking about the place to pluck. Now, my feeling is that this is just an observation. This is not a hard and fast rule. As I was talking to Sir, Balakrishna Sir, a little while ago, what matters is the result. Now, how you get the result is what it matters. Whether you put your hand this way, doesn't matter. The output should be optimal. Just imagine within 3 inches above the 24th fret. So if this is the last Atitarasthai Shajam, just imagine somewhere here. This probably is the best place to pluck. And, sir? Thank you. So this is the best place to pluck, and I thought I should give it a medical analogy to it. That part of the spine, if you were to take a CT scan, in the same, from the first vertebral body, 3 inches above. So if this is the Atitarasthai Shajam, and this is the first cervical vertebra, both are equal. Just imagine 3 inches from this place. So it corresponds to two vital structures in the head. One is called cerebellum, which is the center for balance and posture. This one. And this structure is called the brainstem, which contains all the vital centers like respiratory center, cardiac center, rhythmic center, vasomotor center. Every center in the body is located in that. So it's a kind of ayupattu, I would say. So medically, that corresponds to the most critical part of the human body. In the instrument also, it is that part probably which should give you the most balanced, the most enduring, probably little difficult, but most, the one with balanced treble, bass, what we have been hearing since morning. After having said all that, it also boils down to the length of the fingers and the diameter of the resonator. And if you are comfortable this way, please go ahead with that. If you are comfortable this way, please go ahead with that. Provided the sound is optimal and you should not suffer from osteoarthritis of this joint. That is extremely, extremely important. Next. This is the wax that is put up on the Veena on which, the frets are placed. We call it mainam in Telugu, the wax. I thought that should corroborate with the myelin of the nervous sheath. This black area, this is the myelin of the nervous system, and this contains fat. So I showed a CT scan containing fat. It's possible. I mean, we belong to the department of imageology, but also to the department of imaginology. So we need to imagine things before we put up something on the report, because hardly we get any history. We do not know whether it is the CT scan of a human being or an animal or an alien sometimes. We're given a figure, we're given a paper, and we're supposed to report it. So we developed that art of imagining things without their existence. That probably helped me to come out with these 20 slides. Next. Yeah, these are the so-called chakra system that people talk about. Now, it is actually corresponding to the medical aspect as well. So the one below, the so-called Mooladhara chakra, corresponds to the coccygeal plexus. Plexus is nothing but a group of nerves grouped together at a particular point, nothing else. So if this were to be the coccygeal plexus, which corresponds to the tail of the monkey, that area, the one above that is the lumbar plexus, the sacral plexus and lumbar plexus, the cervical plexus, brachial plexus. Now because there are 7, the 2 other chakras should represent the autonomic nervous system. Sorry. This actually corresponds to the... Correct. And it corresponds to the Ida Pingala of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, which are meant for, increasing or reducing the heart rate, increasing or reducing the respiratory rate, our very existence. Yes. Next. A well-tuned Veena is like a well-maintained body. I mean, this slide I have purposefully included. You look at the spine here. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 are in alignment, but this is slipping over this. You can definitely appreciate that. If you draw a line like that, there is a slip. This vertebral body is seen to slip over the one below. This is medically called spondylolisthesis. This causes lot of backache. Just imagine your fret going up or below or to the right or to the left by 0.5 mm, not even 1 mm. It is extremely painful to your ears, to your fingers. Just to draw an analogy, for a human being to develop backache, the slip should be more than 5 to 10 mm. But for Veena, 0.5 mm is sufficient to cause trouble. So, next slide. This is a famous Tamil song tuned by the Maestro Ilayaraja. Devan Tanda Veena, God made Veena. Next. This is my last slide. Human beings are God-made Veenas, and the instrument is a man-made Veena. This is a gantry in which we perform the CT scan, MRI, and I've placed the Veena in that. This is to add up my profession and my passion and my life. Thank you.
So excellent, sir. Your presentation was very looked upon by many people across the globe. When I sent the invitation, everybody was asking me, what is this? And when I told what is anatomy and physiology of the hand, everybody was understood, what is this physiology of hand and why it is required? Without that, we cannot play Veena. We have to understand. When I said the length of the 24 frets should be measured, it should be corresponded to the backbone length of every human being. It was astonishing factor when he explained why it is. Now you can feel that your backbone length should correspond to the Veena exactly. Then only the vibration of the Veena can be felt and you will feel the pleasure of playing that Veena only. Otherwise every Veena will not suit. It will be a pressure, not pleasure. He was speaking about the plexus. In computer terms we call it as nodes. In computer terms we have nodes. Number of cables we connect at one point, from there we pull out everything. That is nodes. Here nerves are connected, that is plexus. Nodes and plexus are same, the role is same. Because it is distributed to different places and we have the same kind of functioning. Excellent presentation and the phenomenal, for the first time in the Carnatic music history, this is being done. Give me a big round of applause. This conference has brought out two things. One is one which has not been said before, which has not been told before, which has not been thought before. Because the science behind Veena, science behind the playing, which has not been discussed till today by any conference across the globe. This is the only one conference, first time we are doing it. And we are happy that God gave us this opportunity for the fraternity of Veena. This is not for Prasad Iyengar, this is only for the dedicated to all the Veena players. It is to the Veena community, all the people who are sitting here. You are all fortunate, I am also fortunate. Thank you so much for being here. I give him a double round of applause. Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations very much. We have about 300,000 views across today. We have crossed 3,000 views online. Thank you very much. I request sir to come and honor him.
Good afternoon and good evening also in advance. This conference has been unique in that 2 doctors are taking part in this international Veena Conference. No, not pharmacologist.
I'm a pharmacist.
Yes, okay. 1 pharmacist, 3 doctors. Now, the medical faculty, we too represent. On the same day, we gave 2 concerts, 1 concert each. And a lot of things have been spoken about this. In fact, he had hinted that he had presented a paper in NIMHANS, Bangalore. The effect of ragas and emotions on the functional MRI of brain. This I heard from him by phone. He heard me and saw me on the TV perform my Veena program and complimented me last year. Then we became friends by telephonic communication. So he said he was preparing for presenting a paper in NIMHANS on the effects of certain raga, especially Mohana raga, Shivaranjani, Vasanti and Mohana, on the MRI patterns in the brain. So what a exemplary plan and project he has designed. And I think in the coming days and weeks, we will know more about this. Very much more about this, who knows? And we know the implications. Music is a great healer. A lot of developments are in the offing. I compliment him for a wonderful, wonderful speech. Very illuminating speech. Very informative speech. And he is MD Radiology, I am in MD Medicine. So we are 2 doctors. What a combination we have. I cherish this moment forever. Thank you very much. Nothing to boast of. Nothing to boast of. Facts are facts. And we have both played Veena recitals. Thank you very much. I have great pleasure in complimenting him and congratulating him and honoring him also.
Thank you very much, but please don't forget the manufacturer of the medicine, sir. We are there. So if you manufacture medicine only, you can prescribe, sir. No, that's the reason I said. Please don't forget us, sir. We manufacture it. We are there with you always.
A slight correction, please, with the permission of the audience and permission of Mr. Prasad Iyengar. I don't manufacture, I am a pharmacologist come consultant. No, it's all right. It is in the purview domain of Mr. Prasad Iyengar. Pharmaceutical industry has a lot to contribute. Without pharmaceutical industry, the medical world is not there. So they have to synthesize compound. We, the doctors, have to give prescriptions for the patients, along with good Veena recitals. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.